Chapter 10, Taking on Cargo. What do you mean they got away? If the captain finds out you lost them, he'll have me in chains, yelled Mr. Dominguez to one of his men, Seaman Wilkes, who was standing in front of him holding up 2 unlocked leg chains. They must have slipped away from us early this morning. They're the sneakiest bunch of ferals I've ever seen, stormed Seaman Wilkes, who was still holding up the broken chains and examining them closely. And sir, they all stink to high heaven. We'll have to give each one of them a bath for sure before we put them below. Juan Dominguez stood silently pondering the situation before deciding what to do next. Just a month shy of turning 30, Dominguez had worked under Artemis his entire life. The life of the sea was natural for him, since his father had worked for the captain's father for over 50 years himself. A veteran of many such expeditions, Dominguez was used to the dangerous and unusual, but this group of captives retrieved from the old tunnels of DC had to be the strangest he had ever seen in his life. As he paced around the odd assortment of captives, he took notice of their strange appearance. Each of them was nearly as white as ghosts, and their eyes had a strange appearance, like someone who had just been awakened early in the morning with a bad hangover. Wilkes took notice of the examination and stepped next to Dominguez. "Sir, I see you've noticed their skin color. Not good, I tell you. They don't look healthy, probably due to their particular living conditions," he declared. "Where did you find them?" "Several miles up north of here. We traveled the old road, just like the captain requested. We ran into a few of them while exploring the first tunnel. They surprised us, started throwing rocks at us. I suppose they must live in those tunnels. It was hard to catch them all. They move around like the rats they live with, sir." "Lots of hiding places in those tunnels," said Wilkes. "So, you found the tunnels then?" "Yes, sir, we certainly did." "What is their condition?" "Sir?" "The tunnels, what are they like? What shape are they in?" asked Dominguez. "Well, they look like they're in good shape and dry as a bone. We went in for nearly a mile." Wilkes paused and motioned to the captives. "My guess is that all these people that live down there, they must have learned to survive on a diet of rats and weeds. I don't know what else they could live on because that's all we could see." Dominguez started to examine one of the young women and suddenly backed away from the stench. She, like all the others, had unusually pale white skin and that strange faraway stare in their eyes. "Can they communicate at all?" Dominguez asked, trying his best to stay a good distance away from them. God only knows what diseases they might be carrying, he thought. "I don't think so. All I've ever heard from them are strange grunts and squeals spoken in passing." "If they do speak, it's nothing we can understand," noted Wilkes. "Very well then, go ahead and get them loaded up on the ship. Be sure to make your report to Mr. Deeks as soon as they are loaded up, treated, and caged," ordered Dominguez. "Yes, sir." Wilkes ordered his men to lead the captives away to the ship, which was still anchored by the side of the river about a quarter of a mile away. Dominguez did a quick head count of their captives, as Wilkes and the other men led them away. 38, not bad all things considered, he thought. He only hoped the captain would be as optimistic. Artemis and Rolando were standing on the shoreline, watching, as Wilkes and his men brought the captives in and began loading them onto the small boats to take them to the ship. "We are short too. What happened?" barked Rolando. "Let's find out. Wilkes, come here a moment," ordered Artemis. Wilkes walked over to the place where Rolando and the captain were standing. "Why are we short too?" Wilkes breathed in a heavy sigh. "Well, sir, as I explained to Mr. Dominguez a few minutes ago, we had some of them sneak off early this morning." "Broke the locks they did. They are strong, sir," speculated Wilkes. "Rolando looked like he was about to burst a seam, and you just let them go." "Did you send any men out to go look for them?" he asked. No, sir, we didn't. I sent the rest of the men around first to check the others and make sure they were all locked in tight first. Then we looked around for the other 2, but they must have been long gone," explained a nervous Mr. Wilkes. Rolando's anger began to rise as another group of men suddenly appeared approaching the ship from the western trail. It was Rawson and his men. They had 3 horses as well as a couple of large deer carcasses and various bags tied and slung over their shoulders. Artemis was pleased to see the meat and bags of food, but not so pleased to see the horses. Rolando found it hard to contain his anger as he waited for them to approach. "Mr. Rossin, come over here," ordered Rolando. Artemis turned and watched Rolando carefully. He noticed Rolando's face was beginning to turn a shade of red. "This isn't going to be good," he thought. "Explain yourself," insisted Rolando. "The meat and food items are fine and well, but where did you get these horses?" he barked. Artemis attempted to intervene. "Mr. Rossin, we don't need any horses right now. We are going to be leaving soon, and we'll just have to let them go, or didn't Mr. Heinrich make that clear to you?" "Yes, sir, he did." But Rossin hesitated. "But what?" barked Rolando, obviously growing agitated. "Where did you get these horses? Explain that for me, please." "Serge, will you calm down? These are my men, and I will get to the bottom of this." "Let me deal with it, will you?" yelled Artemis. "We'll see about that," scolded Rolando. Artemis took a deep breath and turned to Rossin, who was beginning to look anxious. "Mr. Rossin, what happened out there?" "Well, sir, a couple of days ago, we ran into 3 men about 4 or 5 miles east of here. They were following the river east. We guessed they were out fishing and hunting like we were. We tried to avoid letting them see us, but the next day they started to move further along the river. We decided it was too dangerous to let them continue east, so we waited until they were sleeping, and we took their horses and, well, some of the food items they had with them as well. That stopped their advance. They turned around and headed westward. We didn't see them again after that." "Very well, Mr. Rossin, thank you for your report. Take the water and all the food items you've collected to the ship, then come back and take care of these horses here," ordered Artemis, who started to continue, but was interrupted by Rolando. "And that's it," yelled Rolando. "Mr. Rossin, do you understand that by taking these horses and letting those 3 men go free, you've probably jeopardized the ship and our mission?" Rolando turned to Mr. Rossin. "You should have brought those men here in chains, or at the very least shot them." Artemis was growing angry too, but more with Rolando than his men. "We have everything that we came here for, Serge. Let's continue to stick to the plan. We can return later to investigate the areas along the river west of here," offered Artemis, who was not prepared to get into a shooting war with any settlers. Serge Rolando appeared frozen where he stood with his face red as a beet and his features twisted into an evil scowl. "If you can't discipline these men of yours, Captain, then I guess I'll have to do it for you," he hollered. Quickly reaching underneath his overcoat, he pulled out a small silvery pistol. He aimed it first at Mr. Wilkes, who was still holding onto the broken hand chains, and then he turned his aim towards Mr. Rossin. "Sir, it won't happen again," pleaded Mr. Rossin, who was visibly nervous. Artemis quickly reached down to his side with one hand. "Damn it, I didn't bring it with me," he thought. He hadn't expected this from Rolando. He always felt Rolando was an ass, and this merely confirmed it. Artemis thought quickly. "Mr. Rolando, if Rossin said it won't happen again, then it won't happen again," echoed Artemis. "Put the gun away. This isn't necessary," advised Artemis, in as calm a voice as he could muster. All his many years of experience of being a ship's captain was the only thing he could instinctively rely on in moments like this. "If I'd only had my pistol," he thought. "Then, Captain, you better damn well make sure that it doesn't happen again, or the investors and I will be very, very displeased," barked Rolando, quickly returning his pistol to where it belonged. Rolando gave the captain a look of disdain, then turned quickly to return to the ship. Artemis watched Rolando leave, feeling his jaw muscles relaxing slightly. "Thank you, sir," uttered Mr. Rossin, rather meekly, once Rolando was out of earshot. "My apologies, sir." Artemis shot him a stern glance. "Mr. Rossin, go make your report immediately to Mr. Deeks, and make sure this doesn't happen again, or the next time, I'll be the one holding the gun to your head," growled Artemis, looking over at Mr. Wilkes. "And that goes for you as well. Now go." "Yes, sir," they replied in unison. Artemis watched his men carefully as they turned and left for the ship. This is the second time this week. He wished he'd had his pistol with him, he thought. There wouldn't be a third.
You have been listening to Caleb Elgin, The Rise of the Clans by David E. Farmer. Also available on Amazon Kindle. More chapters coming soon. Thank you for listening. Have a great day. Bye-bye.